Good food.
It's wonderful food. It's amazing. If you guys want a really good, fairly, relatively inexpensive for the amount of awesome stuff you get, make a reservation at Elevation and get lunch there. It's unbelievable.
Oh, you have to make a reservation only?
It's reservation only. I think they're up like Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Fantastic food, and I can't believe how much they're not charging for the food there.
Yeah,
What
you
they did.
choose from 2 different courses or something like
Yeah,
that.
2 or 3, and it's so good. I mean, three course
So like
meals.
$10?
I think it's 20 for a 3-course meal.
Really? That's it?
I mean, something like that. It's not. It's really affordable. And I mean, just throwing that out there. I'm going to advertise for Culinary a little bit. Just wonderful. And it's students. It's students doing the serving and doing the cooking, and it's really, 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 really good.
They only do lunches, they do dinners too.
They do dinner too, lunch and dinner. But it's not always the same. They change the hours. Call and make a reservation. Check the website. Good stuff. Anyway, I think I'm here to tell you that today. But it's good to hear anyway. So, we're okay with Blackboard? Submissions make sense. We're getting the hang of it. I think we're getting the hang of it. I think we are. So yeah. So your quiz is up this week. The quizzes that are posted for you guys, there's 3, I believe. One's a primer quiz. So the primer quiz is just going to be a bunch of little math that is helpful to know before going any further. You can choose to ignore it. You can choose to do it. There's a terms quiz that involves kind of what we did last time in class. If you need help with that quiz, just launch into, remember that extra resources page I showed you, the 9 topics? Just launch into the first topic on that extra resources page. The homework in the book will help you with the questions on the quiz. You can also Google, I think one of the first questions is it quantitative discrete? Is it continuous? Is it qualitative? Just Google those terms. Google the terms, and it'll take you right to definitions if you don't want to look at our textbook. I mean, seriously, Google the terms will tell you. It'll tell you what the terms mean, and then you can apply them to the actual problem itself. I mean, you got plenty of resources if you're supposed to work together. You guys make study groups yet? Maybe not. Work together.
Yeah,
we will. Work together. Work together. Chit-chat with each other. I want you to do that. And the third quiz is a Gallup poll quiz. I didn't find the ACES in particular, but I found how the government is doing through voters' eyes on international and domestic issues, problems, and a way to interpret margins of error. So try to keep it timely. I got one for you guys for next week already. Today I was checking Facebook, and somebody sent a poll, a map of the United States up showing amount of funds, I think it's by political party, contributed to GMO labeling of foods in the U.S. And I took one look at the map. I haven't looked very carefully. I'm like, I think that map is biased already. Without even having to look at what the map is saying, I think it's biased. I'm going to have you guys analyze. I'm going to do it myself and create a series of leading questions to you to walk through that, but I'm almost positive it's just by the way they put it together. So try to keep that kind of that ball rolling. Yeah, Candace, go ahead.
Usually when you do these quizzes, are they like graded, are they going to be questions that are going to be answered as we go, or are they ones that you're going to have to grade and answer? Does that make sense? Like,
As we go where? Like as you're doing the quiz?
Yeah, because I know like sometimes in Blackboard you have like a text box, that you answer and then, so you don't know that you're right until after you grade it.
Oh, I see. You won't know you're right till after I grade and give it back to you. However, I do make there's some adjustments I've put in place. For example, there is something called a rainy day coupon for a quiz. Suppose you take a quiz and get a 2 on it. You can resubmit the quiz and get a 10 on it by the end of the term. On one quiz. You can also do it on one of your couple exam questions. I mean, I make up for that in other ways. So there is something to be said for having that immediate feedback, but because of the way I do my assessments, it won't be that way at Blackboard. It's a great question. I wish I could make it more like that. Maybe I will eventually, but it's just not there yet. So, cool. All the more important to work with each other. All the more, you can double check yourself with redundancy. What's the chance we all got the same answer and we're all wrong? Basically 0, right? Basically 0. Good. We had that discussion in 244. The kids loved it today. So. All right. Enable comment. Why is there a macro on this? Oh, you can't see it yet. There we go. So today, let us continue our journey. Let's continue our journey. A few more terms, a little more analysis is what I'm into today, what I'm into the rest of the course. Is that going to work? That's going to work. Go ahead, take a moment if you would. It's a commercial I saw in 2007.
Yes.
Roughly corresponds with the last time I watched television, because that's the year my son was born.
Cut your hair.
Did I cut my hair? No. I washed it.
It's Tuesday.
getting way too personal.
So,
We could do.
are these slides actually on Blackboard?
They will be on the schedule. Very good question. Wait, Sandra, tell me again.
Lloyd.
Lloyd, thank you. Any PowerPoints that I use will be linked into the schedule page. So if you go back to last week, Thursday last week, if you look at what we did in class together, there's a bullet point that says Intro to Province Stat. If you click on that, it opens the PowerPoint we had in class.
Oh, okay.
This will be on there today when I get back to the office at 3. You'll have measures of center, which is what this is. So any resource I use in class, I'll have hyperlinked for you guys. And then some other stuff too, if I can find good stuff for you.
Cool.
Great question, Lloyd. Nothing. Blackboard is like a ghost town. Honestly, there's nothing in there for you except that's where you go to give me stuff.
Right.
So nothing is in Blackboard is a shell. It is only a tool that we use. It's like a mailbox. Think of it like that. It's a mailbox. It's where you put your assessments to get to me. You wouldn't look in your mailbox for a jug of milk or your box of shorts. Nothing's in Blackboard. It's just a mail slot. Cool. Good. Okay? And this is an ad they used for a few years. I think this is 08. That I believe is 06. Interpret, if you would. This is the entire commercial. Literally, like that's the screen they showed you. It was gone in 30 seconds. So please, is it Linda?
Yeah,
Linda, go ahead.
I don't know if I can contribute to from the year 2007.
That's okay. Go ahead.
Clearly, it's not true because now what they do is they have you download this app and scan your receipt to show you if you had bought this product somewhere else and got it at a cheaper price, they'll refund it back to you with like a gift card or like
Some kind of credit.
So they obviously have conceded that they don't have the lowest prices by creating an app that helps you get that money back. By
That is
scanning
interesting.
other sort of-
That is interesting. Now, if I may, Linda, thank you for telling me that because I didn't know that. That doesn't necessarily negate this. For two reasons. Number one, they might, if they still run this ad, like I said, I haven't watched television in a few years, so I'm not sure. If they still run the ad, they could still write that into them saving you money by giving you a credit back. They might lump that in. Also, it's not saying that every single purchase will be cheaper than the same purchase in a different store locally. It's saying it saves the average American family $3,100. So it doesn't mean that every single thing will be cheaper, but overall it will be. Much the same way, if I flip a coin 100 times, I might get a run of 6 heads at some point, but that doesn't negate the 50-50ness over time. Is that fair?
Sure.
Does that kind of make sense? I love what you said, though. I didn't know they had that app. That's very, very clever. Go ahead, Sandra.
What I'm seeing is it's their perspective of what the average American spends.
Well, now, that's a good point now, isn't it? Close your eyes for a second. I'm going to ask you a question. Picture the average American family. And we chuckle. Because what is the average American family?
Right.
Or what they spend, right, Sandra?
Right.
What they spend. What do they spend? What do they look like? How many people were in your family? 4? 4? I'm Leave It to Beaver era. I picture 4 as well. My family's got 3, but I picture 4. When I grew up, it was me, my mom, and my sister. So there's 3. Started as 4, it became 3. So I mean, like, it's weird. Like, what does that even mean? Is it 2.6? On average?
Well, they say
how many kids?
4.5. I'm like
4.5? How many kids? Is it 2 kids?
2.5.
Yeah.
Right. The question is, that's loaded. So for now, I'm going to ignore average American family and focus only on the $3,100 a year. Because notice that amount. Oh, David, go ahead. Go ahead.
It's how much you have to spend over a year to save that much money.
Well, I wanted to do the same thing. So I went and found the price impact of Walmart and update through 06. Because every once in a while, they'll slip and give me a link to something. And that's all it takes to set the hounds loose to go find their data. So I did. I went ahead and I read. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing to you, and I only took snippets of it, the important things. I'm looking for that $3,100. I'm looking for the savings Walmart passes on to you. Read this for a moment, friends. Take a look. Take a look. Yeah, with you, David.
The light.
Of course, thank you. I'm sorry. Much better.
So much better.
Thank you. I apologize. CPI, Consumer Price Index. Yes, ma'am, Rachel. That's what we have to focus on, really, honestly, is the CPI and how it relates to Walmart. What is $1 worth? Right? Yeah. What is a dollar worth? Back in the 90s when we were touring and gas was 80 cents a gallon. Boggles the mind to think about that now. A dollar was worth, if you will, a lot more. Gas-wise than it is now. It's worth a lot less CPI-wise than it is now, but gas-wise, a lot more. Consumer Price Index, very good question, Katie. I had to kind of learn, and any business folks and economists in here, correct me if I'm wrong. CPI is essentially the rate of inflation. The higher the CPI, the more inflation we've seen, the more expensive things get. Is that a fair approximation for inflation? Okay, so basically, if CPI is up, things get more expensive.
Consumer what?
Consumer Price Index. The way it's been described to me is it's the basket of goods. If you were to go into a city and buy a loaf of bread, a pair of jeans, a house, a car, a series of, it's this collection of items, it's how you can then compare your city to another city via a percentage. If you add up all those amounts and then add up the same amounts in a second city and do the division, you'll get a percentage difference. That's a CPI difference between, say, Bend and Portland, or Portland and Las Vegas, or Las Vegas and Los Angeles. So it's a way of you, if you know the CPI for Bend is 20% higher than the CPI of a town you live in, but you can get a job in Bend that pays 20% more than the town you live in, you might conclude that you could live in Bend. Even though it's more expensive to live in Bend, you're going to make more money in Bend at the same percentage-wise, and it might be okay to live there. David, go ahead.
It's like in I have some friends in Dutch Harbor where it's like.
Where's that?
It's at the end of the Aleutian Island.
Oh, cool.
And it's like, sure, it costs like $10 for a gallon of milk, but also you get paid like $20 to toss boxes into a dumpster for a fishing company.
Exactly. My first job offer out of college, 1996, I graduated with a bachelor's degree in math education, was from Hawaii, the Hawaii Public School District. And they said, we're going to start you at 40 grand a year. Now this was 1996. We're going to start you at 40 grand a year. I'm like, holy crap. My friend Matt's like, dude, Gatorade costs like $3 a liter down there. And that's why I did the research. It's more expensive to live there, so they have to pay you more. Otherwise, you'll kill yourself, right? Go ahead, Blake.
Hawaii has the lowest dollar, or you're working for $7.15 an hour there.
Oh my God, minimum wage.
Where?
Hawaii,
I wonder if that's changed. I wonder if that's changed in 20 years. I wonder.
I worked there 2 years ago.
So I'm guessing that things have changed since 1996 when I was offered the job. I'm guessing.
I have a friend that lives there and barely makes it because he works at close to minimum wage and the cost of living there is so high he
Right.
lives in a place that's operating.
And this is why you need to analyze things like CPI to know what the purchasing power of your dollar is worth. So that's why it gives us a nice index to work off of to describe Walmart's impacts. So I like how I bolded it myself here. If Walmart does have an impact on CPI, it's either going to be in durable goods or non-durable goods. Durable goods, things like clothing, something you use more than once, right? A microwave oven, something like that. Non-durable goods, something that you don't use more than once, so paper towels, broccoli, eat it, it's gone, kind of thing. Disposable stuff, or frequently disposable stuff. Services, 60%. Services are things outside of Walmart's control. Price of electricity, price of the minimum wage cost, things like that. And they make a note of that down here. Consumer prices, it would be on the first two categories if Walmart has an impact on prices. So if they can claim a savings, it would have to be in the goods, durable and non-durable. It can't be as a function of services. I want to come back to that point. Did you catch this up here? These are many of the things we already knew about Walmart. The reason they can offer such low prices, have you ever seen how they pack their trucks? It's a work of mathematical beauty. They waste no space in those trucks. They waste no space, no distance when they drive to do their deliveries around. It's incredible. It's incredible mathematics. And this whole refund thing, I bet you they've got some sophisticated tax write-off to make that a win for them too. I mean, it's amazing, the logistics and the mathematics behind it. Katie, go ahead.
Well, no, I just watched a video on the impact of Walmart on small towns.
Yes, I've seen
Yeah.
many of those too, yeah.
And I just kind of take that into accountability. Of course, like, you know, the 60% of inflated goods. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I've seen them too. I'm not, tell you
But
what,
is
so
this
nobody
why-
gets upset, I don't even want to address that.
Right.
I don't want to address that at all. I only want to focus on the durable goods that they claim, that what they're selling, they claim they save you money. Did you catch the no matter where you shop?
Yeah.
They're saying, even if you don't shop at Walmart, we're still going to save you money. And I think it's because of that.
Yeah.
But all I'm on the hunt for right now is that $3,100 and where it is. That's all I'm on the hunt for right now.
Okay.
Join me on the journey. this graph popped up. I said, that's fun. What is this? I got like 30 different metro areas in America where Walmart has a presence. And what it is it's a measure of the CPI. So the higher the CPI, the more expensive. Kind of makes sense. Honolulu's up there and the more expensive, right? Hawaii. You got Seattle, New York, very expensive. San Diego, Southern California, very expensive. Boston, very expensive. Anchorage, not comparatively not as expensive as, say, the Aleutians, because you're not quite so far out there. Portland's somewhere in the middle, which would probably makes about sense if you compare it to the country. So you've got a list of costs, least expensive to most expensive, relatively speaking. But I wasn't focusing on that. I was focusing on the bars that made up the CPI. Remember what they said? If Walmart has an impact on prices, it's going to be with what they sell, not by the services that they and we use. Look at the shading of those bars. Notice the bars are mostly gray. Notice what gray is. Contribution from services. Which means, I'm guessing, I'm going to call it 75% of each of those bars on average. Two-thirds to three-quarters of those bars, CPIs are run by service costs, not by commodity costs. Commodities are the things Walmart's selling. So, you see? So the very own report that they're claiming says they save you $3,100 is saying that the majority of the CPI inflation is being run by things that Walmart doesn't control. Keep that in the back burner, okay, friends? Keep that back here, just for a moment. Next graph. My favorite for a number of reasons. Number one, they spelled Santiago. It's a Southern California pronunciation. Yes, roll. Do you know what this graph is showing you? I'm going to back this up for just a second. Take a look at that graph and see if you can. It's a scatter plot. I love these. These are super fun, especially when they do stuff like this. What is it saying? I'll give you a hint. Scatter plots compare two things and look for a correlation. What two things are being compared on this graph?
Walmart got bigger with CPI increase.
The size of Walmarts in a given metro area, Candace, thank you. The size of each one of those dots is a metro area. There's Anchorage, there's San Diego, there's Boston, Portland's in there somewhere, I don't know where Portland is, but they're all in there. All those cities from the previous graph are here. The vertical axis is the relative change in square footage of Walmart's presence in those towns from 85 to 2006. So it increased in Walmart. I don't know what unit they're using. It says square footage per capita, but I don't know what capita they're perring. So obviously 0 means no change, 3 means a high change. I don't know exactly what it is. So as you go up, there's more Walmarts in that town per capita. Bottom is CPI. So clearly as cheaper, more expensive. Increase in CPI. So the less Walmart space, the higher the CPI. That's what we're seeing here, right? Now, in case you don't see that, they were kind enough to put a line in there for you so you can see it. And that's a weak correlation at best. But I'll give it to them. I'll give it to them. They're claiming that there's a correlation, a negative correlation, between the number of Walmarts and the CPI. In other words, if you have more Walmarts, you're going to have a lower CPI, i.e. cheaper goods. And if you have fewer Walmarts, you're going to have a higher CPI, i.e. more expensive goods. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that. I don't necessarily disagree with that statement at all. Teresa's like, wait, you don't? What would I disagree with?
Correlation causation.
Correlation causation, right? Is it Jason? Tom.
Really close.
No, not even close. No! Damn it, Tom! You sat there, then you sat there, and you sat here, and I called you Jason, because Jason sits there in the other class.
I like that.
Got it, Tom. Got it. Watching you. Correlation, causation. I'm not saying there isn't a correlation, but you can't prove to me Walmart's causing it. That's the difference, right? It's the ice cream crime rate thing all over again. It's less obvious. It's less obvious, but it's the same exact logic. And then, especially when about a paragraph and a half later, they hit you with this sentence. Just read that. See if you can make some sense out of that. If you can't read it, I'll read it to you. I'll read it out loud. It might be too small to read from back here, I don't know. Once differences in consumer service prices are accounted for, we are able to explain nearly 89% of the consumer price inflation variation across these areas by considering unemployment rate changes, high-wage industry unemployment share, and electricity price growth. 3 things Walmart has 0 control over. So 90% of the change, 90% of whatever change happened is from 3 factors that Walmart has no control over. So what Walmart essentially did with this report is, there might be I never did find the $3,100, FYI. I never, or the 2,800 or the 27, I never found it in the report. But let's assume it was there. Why not? What they're doing is, they're claiming the savings as they caused it, even though it would have happened with or without them. That makes sense? Hey, did you guys like that moonset I laid out for you today? That moonset? Anybody see the moonset this morning? 5:45 a.m.? Gorgeous. Gorgeous big orange moon. I called that one in.
You did?
I did. I called Mom Nature, got her on speed dial. I said, it'd be really cool if you could drop the moon right behind North Sister today. You can't prove I didn't. You can't prove I didn't. You can hypothesize I did and give me scientific evidence that this Earth is rotating and all this crap.
But it's not a matter of proving that you did, it's a matter of proving that you did.
Burden of proof. Prove I didn't. No, that's my point though. Walmart is making a claim they saved you money. The money would have been saved anyway. They're just tagging themselves on it. You see what I'm getting at? That's the whole point. That's my point of going in and finding and digesting the data. That's what you learn how to do in this class. Dave, what do you think about right now? You're processing something.
I was trying to think if there's any correlation between, like, because all of those are metro areas, but some of them are much larger than others, and whether or not that has any influence on.
Yes.
Whatever this capita per is, I'm sure is adjusting for that. Yeah, you can't just do apples because the apples are bigger in San Diego than they are in Anchorage. So you have to scale it for, I think it's probably scaled for population density. I had a discussion, they were putting a Walmart, the plan was to put a Walmart, you know where the campground with a K, Ben's Campground?
Yeah, they spent
The
so
Northeast,
much.
I'm right across the street from there. We live right across the street. And they were gonna put a super Walmart there. And they had these community meetings. And I sat with the guy from Walmart, I'm like, dude, you've got a Walmart at the south end of town. You've got a super Walmart in Redmond. Why do you need this one here? Oh, because our density models have shown. I'm like, oh, they do this. They do it per capita. And they concluded, since Ben was growing the way it was growing, that it tipped the scale for one more store.
They're doing the same thing with Fred Meyer right now.
Oh, any business should do that. Any business should do that, as well as obey Malcolm Gladwell and his 150 rule for keeping businesses broken up enough. There's all kinds of little metrics that are used. So I'm sure they were controlled for in the analysis, David, absolutely. Cool?
So what was the outcome of the Walmart? They're not going to build it there, right?
Because of traffic. That was what held them out of Bend so far, is they didn't address the traffic problem as well.
Oh, okay.
So that's the only thing right now. So the story's not over. They still own the property. They own that whole campground. Yeah.
Paid a pretty penny for that.
They did, and they're going to hang on to it, and I'm sure we haven't heard the last of that yet.
The only thing holding Fred Meyer back is the parking.
Is the parking.
Well, traffic, exactly, traffic and/or parking, yeah, for sure.